I don't know, frankly, it would seem like the priorities is old business.
Identifying priorities should,
Oh, I see, it's down below. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
on here.
Okay.
yeah, I put it, I
So-
switched it.
And then, okay, so safe, so you want, so you-
Yeah,
update on the partners for
right.
P4P. Okay.
Okay, so let me see if Mike, can you hear us? Oh, great.
Oh, yay.
And we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
So is this working?
And I told Jenny that we're online too. Okay, so I let her know.
Is that better? Oh,
Can you hear us
good.
now?
Yes.
Ooh, we
It's a
have
little bit
microphones.
better. Nice. Okay. So Freda, you asked about the Safe Streets for All and an update on that.
You want to start with that?
Yeah, why don't I just start with that? That project, the agreement was just executed, and a consultant was chosen, Kittleson and Associates.
good.
And so Jeff Reiger, I believe is the way that you pronounce the last name, has worked with the City of Erie before on the active Erie transportation plan. So very familiar. They are also consultants to PennDOT, so there's a natural fit there.
Can we go back up a minute?
Yeah, I have no idea what we're talking
Okay.
about.
Can we
Sorry.
just start with that?
Okay. So, Safe Streets and Roads for All is a Department of Transportation grant that we received.
Well, it's a bigger program. It's just we happen to have a grant.
Well, this is the planning portion of the program. So, and please feel free to chime in because I'm also, this hasn't started, but I know what I know from the scope of work. But it is a transportation plan. They're looking at fatality areas where there's been high crash data, and I guess sort of the goal of this program is to have 0 fatalities by a certain date, or that's the overarching goal. And so the City of Erie has that type of data and analysis is going to be done by the firm. They're going to be looking at transportation data. They're also going to be doing quite a robust engagement of communities that have typically been underserved. So there's that component that we made sure to build into the RFP process. And then the whole reasoning for this grant, this planning grant, is to then hopefully go out for an implementation phase, implementation money through the same stream, through the same grant stream. So once you have the plan in place, then you are able to go out for the implementation money. This project, the kickoff meeting is scheduled for next week. And then at that meeting, which is like just internal, public works planning, we'll be determining who the steering committee is for that.
Okay, and so this meeting, sorry, I have to take notes.
Oh, yes.
I'm doing meeting.
Am I talking
minutes,
too
so,
quickly?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up. This meeting that's next week, this is based upon the agreement. So who's with the agreement? I missed that part.
So the kickoff for this project for Safe Streets and Roads for All is the consultant, which is Kittleson and Associates.
Kittleson.
Right. Public Works.
Kittleson and Associates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Public Works will be involved in this first initial meeting, the planning department. There might be a few others in there internally. And then from there, we're going to develop the steering committee. So from what I've discussed with Jeff, the lead on the project, and also from what the proposal stated, they do an excellent job of engaging and making sure that they have a very strong, diverse set of expertise on their steering committee. So I'll be able to report back a little bit more next time on who might be on that committee and the project's completion is March of 2025.
You mean the planning?
This project, this planning, this grant fund
Only for planning.
for planning
Yeah.
is to be completed by March 2025, which is actually quite aggressive. That we had a longer timeline and they were able to reduce it by several months, and it was intentional so that they could go, so that we could then apply for the implementation phase money that same year. So they did it very intentionally, their timeline.
So what I understand, there's like an extra $200 million of implementation money that is in the program. And what I'm confused about is the Active Erie Plan identified areas in the city that lack sidewalks. The Transportation Improvement Plan includes betterment projects within the city and outside the city where there are missing sidewalks. I have several times communicated with Leanne Parmenter over the lack of sidewalks around city parks, which is about the easiest place you could put sidewalks because the city owns the parks. And I'm concerned that we already have done the Active Erie Plan. We've already done the TIP. We've already identified areas where sidewalks need to be done. And now we're going out for yet another planning program that isn't going to be done until 2025. And it seems like we're doing some of the same stuff for the second and third time.
Well, in order to get implementation money and to get the projects done and streams to improvements on streets for safety, you have to do this through this particular funding stream.
Because we did a plan.
Can't speak exactly to the active transportation plan. I mean, I know of it. I've skimmed it. I haven't read it fully, but this focus is different in that.
And this thing about fatalities, that there's a substantial part of the community that addresses pedestrian safety that talks about fatalities itself is kind of not addressing the whole thing. But I actually have a lot of faith in Kittleson. Well, I just want to go on record of my concern that we have already identified some of these priorities twice, and that so they're in plans, but yet we're having to do yet another plan when it would seem like there is a plan that could be applied for in the May 16th implementation deadline, but I understand there's apparently not going to happen. I'm not going to be here in May, but I would like to be involved with the committee. I had hoped that I would have been involved with Active Erie. I was not included. There was almost no city resident representation of pedestrians. I would like to be involved as a pedestrian, as somebody with a long history of concern and activity around pedestrian safety in the city. If we can get some of that money, that'd be great. It sounds like we're going to miss the boat on this first round of implementation funding.
Yeah, because we have to do the planning.
Well, that's why I don't understand. We already did a plan.
Well, I haven't looked at them, but I would assume that there are differences and different kind of intents and the data analysis.
Like I said, I just wanted to go on record.
Yep, we got you.
Okay, so that's that. So you want to talk about the P4P?
Well, why don't we go back to the agenda?
Well, it's on the
We're out of
agenda.
order, yeah.
Well, so
I asked to move the P4P above the priorities because in the conversation on the P4P, we might be bringing stuff up that has to do with priorities.
So Safe Streets became A. Update on P4P became B. We're just moving everything down. So
Jackie
aside from that,
chose
we're on-
to put the safe streets first, so we did that.
it's fine. So there
Okay.
was no old business. So now we're on B update. So we are on the agenda under new business, part B update on the P4P grant.
Thank you. So if you look in the packet that I provided you after the minutes, you will see a flyer that was so nicely done by our consultants, Michael Baker International, they're working on this project. This was a flyer that was, well, let me step back. So Porter Stevens came and explained to you the project, the funding stream, the timeline, the budget, that type of thing. In the last month or so, a advisory committee was formed of many different members, and those advisory members then made and a list of contacts of frontline communities or organizations to engage with. That was formulated, and then contacts were made asking if those organizations were interested in participating in this project. So this was the flyer that they received, and this flyer talks about the partnership, that the focus will be on building consensus on the major environmental issues impacting the health and quality of life of Erie residents, and then working on solutions to address priority issues. The partnership will transition to a steering committee eventually to help with the completion of a local climate action plan. So we talked about that initially, that this was the beginning stages of, it was also the missing engagement piece for the climate action plan. Then it asks, how can you help? And that means in terms of the organization, they can assist with collecting feedback from the public on environmental issues, their engagement with city residents, especially those who live in neighborhoods that are typically underrepresented in city activities and projects. Next week, we will be meeting with those organizations to explain the process, explain how we're going to roll out sort of their engagement, because it's kind of like a train the trainer, or if you will, we'll give them a bit of a toolkit so that they can then go out to their connections and community and engage with their community and get the feedback that we need. So this is more of just a session to see if they're interested, and hopefully then to partner with them. On the back of this flyer is what I wanted to bring your attention to. Oh, and by the way, the page afterwards, the couple pages afterwards, that's the scope of the project. You haven't seen that, and I wanted you to have that so you could understand this project just a little bit better, especially that it's going to be completed in July. So we're forging through. This, on the back side of this flyer, are what started out as thematic buckets that the advisory committee started to discuss. And that advisory committee is made up of Jenny Tompkin, Sarah, you're on that.
I'm on that.
Sarah Peelman.
And Sarah Stallman.
You, me, and Michael Baker.
Yeah.
So that's the committee. So we intentionally brought those that were very heavily involved in, this for many years, bringing that group together. And so on the back are the priorities that the advisory committee felt that they wanted to address when engaging with the communities. So I wanted you to take a look at some of these, because based upon the priorities that you discussed last meeting, kind of can fit into some of these big, high-level categories. So just give you a few seconds there to take a look at that.
I would say that number 7, like talking about source reduction, is actually the best way. Source control is the best way to reduce waste. And all the others are good, but not as good as source reduction with source control. And utilizing more responsibly produced materials isn't quite the same, but I just want to reflect that I think that that's lacking in the description of number 7.
So you say you want to call it source reduction
Well, source control,
or source control?
or at least it should be.
This was already sent out. I should be clear. Okay, yes.
I'm making a comment. I never had an opportunity to review this, but having worked in the solid waste field for many years, source control was always the highest part of the hierarchy, of the waste hierarchy, is source control. Okay. And it's always.
So I also wanted to share with you, and this is not very comedy. I'll send this to you in your email, and Sam, you've seen this, and I could be like able to speak to this a little bit better than I think you've seen this. It might have been only.
This is from
Jen.
Jenny.
I asked her if I could share this today. I'd like to send it out to you. Oh, shit.
Is there a way to turn on that TV too, so I'm not looking?
Sure. Yeah, I think. Singing from that TV on so that anything about the thank you. This you see. So what Jenny did for the advisory group,
Thank you.
like this spreadsheet that looks at case studies of local climate action plans, and she talks about the plan's focus, the major sections or subcommittees that look at the priorities, and then it's some notes on it, and then divided to lake. And I thought this would be very helpful just to sort of keep us focused and maybe help us in the decision making. She also included an example like being from Evanston, Illinois, and then this didn't come out right. This actually was Penn Teachers recommendations. And then she had some questions here having to do with partners, entities, citizens, greenhouse gases. Before I think these were just in terms of questions, but this was also interesting. She looked at there was several different, and it's not pointing out very clearly, but she looked at several different of the city's plans, like theory refocus, the neighborhood plans, and she pulled out the sustainability priorities within each of those plans, which I think is really important because, those discussions and that feedback is already gathered. So we're not reinventing the wheel. These are things that were our priorities and then other by them. So,
Be interesting to align those with this listing from the P4P flyer.
and I think that Michael Gafer did some of that. They looked at Jenny's information, and then some of the from that. That's someone of how the tonight vibes were.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
So this is not easy to shoot, and Jenny would probably be the best to come in and explain it. But just wanted to give you some context, and maybe there's some guidance there to help with coming up with priorities.
Jenny, she's online, but I don't think we can see her. She maybe has her camera off. All we're seeing is Mike. So
She's on the Zoom?
she's on the Zoom, but she can't talk.
hand face.
Yeah.
He gets the ability to, but
We could promote her.
sorry, they what Molly Oh, and she should be able to fully understand.
Oh, so Jenny, if you're online and you want to say anything about our discussion, oh, she's not there. Okay. Oh, I saw two participants and thought she was the other one, but we are the other one. Okay. That's funny. Oh, she's on YouTube, not Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She can
So-
she can make comments unless comments are turned off. She could enter comments.
On YouTube, but we're not monitoring the YouTube on
Some of
here.
us wanted to,
So
Was on.
we could to the
and then she could comment.
Would that be helpful for you to after go look it out?
this is a question to the
Oh, wait a minute, she's texting me. Thanks, I'm only on YouTube. Do you want to be able to be on the Zoom just to make comments, not necessarily speaking? There she goes.
Name, but I would.
I think a lot has to happen for technology. I mean, I don't do anything with technology, but this seems pretty sad.
So
she's just watching.
Jenny and I had a talk. She's kind of my EAC whisperer. I will divulge my secret. And she's encouraging me to try and that the more we can focus on a small group of priorities, the better chance we have. Of
Yes, I
getting it done.
agree with that.
Right. So she said she really encouraged us to get behind helping this through and helping to have the climate plan. So I'm for that. I'm just concerned when categories don't mention things at all that some of us are you mentioned native plants, and maybe that's sort of in there with stormwater, but I just hopefully that there can be some.
I like the source reduction addition to
Okay.
point 7, and I
Source
have that in the
control.
notes. You said source reduction. It's under waste reduction.
whatever.
That it would be.
It's source control, but okay. And the other, if there's somewhere way under climate resiliency, possibly because we've
Mike
mentioned
forwarded
stormwater.
the email to Jenny that has his Zoom link, so she should be able to.
She said, "Not sure if it's helpful. Proceed without me," and she's sending me yet another text.
That's fine.
But anyway, maybe we can, since you're just taking notes and you're on the steering committee, if there's some way to slip some of the stuff around native vegetation into climate resiliency where it mentions stormwater, it sort of fit.
I would think it would be better under trees and space.
But it only talks about parks, but okay. Anyway, you get the
No,
gist.
I'm saying that, okay, that's what it currently says, but
Right.
if you want something in here on native species,
Right.
that seems to be
Right.
the appropriate place.
Right. Encouraging
And so-
residents to modify gardening. There's a lot of ways to have incentives for that. You got the gist. You know where to put it. You're on the steering committee. I have faith.
Okay, I still have a question about number 7. We're using the words source control and source reduction. What are we talking about as opposed to waste reduction?
Well, source control is not having something in the waste stream in the first place. So,
Which is also what source reduction is. That's what I thought you meant.
okay, well, it's
Okay,
just
so
it's waste reduction.
Control and reduction are pretty much the same thing as you're seeing it as. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was my. I could.
So basically, reduce the amount of waste by not just expanding opportunities to recycle, compost, reuse, and use different materials, but also to reduce the output of waste to begin with, right? So instead of having disposable cups, having reusable, right? Something like that is another alternative to waste reduction that is, yeah, Mike, that's right there. Yeah. So
And
Yeah,
having
you're right.
water-
And that's
Eliminating
missing.
all single-use plastics.
right.
Yes.
There's also responsible packaging. There's
Right. So it's reducing waste to be before it starts, basically. And that is missing. So adding that to point 7 and then finding a place for like native plants. I put it under point 3, but we can look.
Yeah, that's what I would put it.
All right. On the back side, your list
Yeah.
needs to be
That we talked about last time.
Right.
take me on.
Yeah. I wasn't here.
Leave that
Yeah.
there.
well, yeah, we're going to get there.
So
I'm delighted that you understood what my concern was and yours, and that you're able to kind of somehow it'll get heard in the process. I think
yeah. Some. Okay.
that's what one can hope for. Okay, see,
Has that extra piece of paper. It's like, yeah,
so how is there anything else? So I guess in the process of establishing this group, Penn Future and some of us who were volunteers with Penn Future did a lot to help build the case for advocating for the Environmental Advisory Council. So I think what I was hearing from my little whisperer was, how can we help to advocate for moving forward to a climate action plan? So I guess that's what I would say, in that I didn't.
Okay. So we've moved on to point C, identifying priorities for the Environmental Advisory Council.
We good with saying
Have
that?
we,
Yeah.
do we all feel like we've been updated enough on the P4P grant? I guess is my question. Yes. Okay. And so we're moving on to C now, and identifying priorities. And Freda, you're basically advocating for the development of the climate action plan.
Yeah, whatever we need to do to help.
Well, I think at this point, we can't talk about the priorities. What we have to do is prioritize them.
Right.
Which ones do we think we want to deal with? I mean, we have a whole list. And, and if we're going to be looking and working with,
Okay, and
I would think we would want to support the priorities of the P4, for whatever this plan is called,
P4P,
P4P.
people for places. Or like,
Then I should know that because I'm going to be at that meeting.
Well, and that's in Sarah's list, under Sarah's, the climate action plan and climate resilience.
all right. So yeah. So on our list from last week, we have
Can we group
Different-
any of these?
points that were made by different people, and then we have an update on city priorities that was given by Sarah Peelman.
So I wondered if there's some of these that fit together that we can group.
Yeah, well, for instance, if we take a look at them, so HECA would certainly be part of number 6 on the P4P plan,
Okay.
right?
So,
Because that's historic sources of
So Pat is you're basically suggesting that maybe I just want to make sure I'm taking notes correctly, so I'm not trying to be annoying, but to identify our priorities, that maybe a good thing to do would be to start mapping the priorities from last meeting onto the 9 priorities from the P4P grant.
we could try that. Although now that I'm saying that about HECA, actually, what we're not dealing with an air issue. We're dealing with water issues and soil issues.
No.
So it really doesn't go. It's
Well, we got 6.
it's not really part of 6.
We have 6. Is it part of 6?
Pardon me?
Is it part of 6?
No, because we're not dealing with air quality. We're dealing with water quality, both surface water and groundwater, and soil quality. Because the plant has been shut down, air quality is not the predominant issue like it was when the plant was operating.
Okay, so do we have a water thing?
No, we don't.
Do we want, so, I mean, we are not going to, we're not adding stuff to these 9. We're not going to add a 10, but we can have our own list of
We
priorities.
could have our own list of priorities, but we could also see, I mean, one way of kind of prioritizing our list is see if they're already on this list. If we intend to kind of adopt this list as something, we want to look at.
Or if, and also the things that are on here that aren't on here, to group some of them together.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, so I think the P4P kind of priorities are kind of categories as opposed to looking at the list.
Right.
They're more specific, right? HECA is something specific. Single-use plastics is much more specific. Although we do have the climate action plan. I don't know.
But it would go on to number 7.
Yeah. I'm just, I don't, what I'm saying is that I don't know that it's a necessary activity.
Right.
That we map our listing from, Pat, I thought I had a good idea, and you went through the same kind of mental process, right? Where you're like, oh, let's map these and see how they, and then immediately went, well, is that really necessary?
Going to work. Right.
Catch-alls, right?
Yeah.
Catch-alls.
Which these?
These 9 are catch-alls that you're type that listed into one of these, but then they don't necessarily, well,
It doesn't.
okay, maybe not all of them. Most of these on the list do fit into some general categories.
Yes.
At least from the priorities that were mentioned last week.
I think probably it's supposed to, HECA probably is intended to be under like the public health and well-being
Yeah.
because it's a public health kind
Yes,
of, although the
okay.
description may not perfectly fit.
Exactly. Yeah, it could definitely be there.
So, but I think that that's kind of the idea is that HECA would fit under that. So the question is, I guess, how do we move forward on setting our priorities?
So the goal of this, if I could resume leading the discussions, would be to have our priorities as opposed to necessarily this. We were sort of playing with that. But to look at these, I was suggesting that we group them just to see how many of them are the same or similar, and then we could decide which ones are most important to us as a group.
Okay, and I would suggest that we ask, since neither Bob nor Matt or Sam were here last week, are there others that you want to add to this list?
Is it open for discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I been thinking about this, and this actually fits into the first one, buildings and energy. How do I put this? I think it would be a priority to somehow encourage solar panels, both residential, commercial, industrial. In fact, I'd be to go far enough as to say that might be worth trying to actually attract a solar panel manufacturer to Erie.
We have one.
Do we really? In the city?
Wait, no, not a manufacturer of solar panels. We have Solar Revolution that installs.
There's an
Installs
installer.
is different than
Yes. No, these would be like high-paying manufacturing jobs. They'd be made in the city. I would assume there'd be some sort of taxes. I don't know. I didn't go too far down the rabbit hole. But.
So if you look at Sarah's list of city ones, you could say, can we just add to that to attract manufacturers, just as a place to put it?
Well,
Oh, she has solar.
Yeah, she has solar energy, but I don't know if that's necessarily. I guess, especially for residential, I mean, you're talking about $12,000 to $15,000 for a residential home. The median income, I think, for the city of Erie is like $43,000. Most people aren't going to be able to afford that, even with the federal tax break, I think, of 30%. So, I mean, that would still, $3,600 to $4,500 off after a tax break still leaves about $10,000. Most homeowners, may not be able to afford that type of investment.
So we're just going to add that to the list as a standalone thing.
I want to point out that part of a climate action plan could be looking at kind of that installing solar panels becomes part of a climate action plan as one of like the steps, one of the action items. And part of that could be kind of looking at mechanisms. So by working on the climate action plan, we could also be working on what you're talking about,
Yeah.
I guess is basically
Could be
the point
looking
I
at
want to make.
community solar and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. That would be
If we can do it as a community-wide initiative, we can get kind of, it's
Consent.
incentives. Yeah, when you're so we need to do things, economies of scale, right? So if we get a whole bunch of people that are able to team up, then you can get economies, so you can get it for a better price. So
But just so you know, there is a household in Northeast on the bluff who pays pennies a year for electricity, and their whole house is electric
Oh, I believe it.
because of solar panels.
yeah,
Well, Cindy Purvis in my neighborhood, whose family, her son started Solar Revolution, she has 7 panels on her house. So I don't know where they're at, but she's got 7.
I know one of the engineers were,
But it is an initial cost that you have to, unless you
That's
work with some company, which we've been looking into it at the monastery. So if you work with someone, then they do all the buying, and you gain the energy profits. I'm going to be energy, but they any
Yeah.
profits.
I'm putting on a new roof next month, so I'll just
If you would have
I just up on T.
and see is that so the spaceship here will show things like the main topics in the climate action plan will be renewable energy
Right.
or abilities and energy, which is what's on the list here. And under that, you would have maybe a subcommittee or a subgroup just dealing with
Is there any reference to the 2030 group? Is there any reference to the 2030 energy group?
it.
I think the city of Erie is one of the members. I know that we are folks that have already done like looked at all of their energy sources and are now looking to reduce all their carbon output by 2030. They meet regularly.
yeah.
I haven't seen that in Europe. And its priorities, but these aspects from the spirit.
Okay.
So, how Jenny puts them in the notes. So this is one particular case study she was looking at. She has sorry, I just wanted it. The climate mitigation, this is from in global hydros. They have the climate mitigation and renewable energy expectation. And she has schools 30% achieving heat emissions reductions like 2030.
Yeah, but these are local institutions. Like Erie Insurance is a part of it. Some of the universities are.
These are case studies that she looked at
Well, so
to be able to formulate priorities that for us.
the 2030 district, which the city is a part of, right, could help with giving ideas on how we can incentivize, how we can make things happen. So they could provide, but it's not there. Yeah. So I think they could be of assistance in writing the climate action plan and in coming up with action steps within the climate action plan.
And they have lots of resources in terms of grants. I mean, at the meeting last week, they were talking of millions of dollars that's available.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with Bill and Ira.
just trying to figure out how we're going to move forward with this to get through it.
Any other? So, Matt, did you have another one that you wanted to add?
I'm always about green space, streetscape. I was actually looking at 12th Street on my way down here, and I think it's just the time of the year. It's all gray and yucky, but I don't quite know where they'd put a verge at, and it's PennDOT's verge. It's the grassy area between the road and the sidewalk. I don't know where they would put it because, well, first off, it's PennDOT's right away, and I mean they kind of tell us what they're going to do with it, but. I mean, like that 12th Street corridor.
If there was a verge, it would be possible to plow the street without totally obliterating the sidewalk. Nobody ever plows from Sass to Pittsburgh in the wintertime.
And that would,
I mean, nobody ever clears the sidewalk.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it just blows it all up on there. Yeah. That would be an advantage of having a verge there. It's
Right.
It's, convincing the state that that's a worthwhile endeavor.
Streetscapes, is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, streetscape.
And we have lots of
street trees.
neighborhoods, that have that already.
Are we all done with that? I mean, did you go to any of the visioning meetings for the 12th Street project?
I didn't have a chance, unfortunately. I was at 10 o'clock. And
You're all in the daytime. Yeah.
In event, having a fun with things.
say 21st.
Yeah.
So be sure to get that in there.
I'll definitely try to think.
Anything else?
I can keep rambling if you want. I'm kidding. No, I'm good. I'm good. That's all I got. Thank you for listening.
Bob, did you have anything that you wanted to
The ones that I was thinking of have already been pretty much covered.
Yeah, that's what I was.
List.
Yeah.
I was particularly interested in the single-use plastics and landscaping and trees in particular, because in my neighborhood there are so many dead trees in the city right away, and they just kind of wait to take them. When they fall down, then they take them away, and not until
Oh, that's. I was actually thinking about that too, because I know when that big windstorm came through, and they were knocking down these large trees in the right of way that unfortunately no one.
right.
I don't know if it's just a lack of maintenance or disease or what, but you have those large trees, they come down.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they're not. There's not a lot of proactive
Maintenance.
efforts. They wait until they fall down in the street, and then if they fall down in the street, then they take it away. If they fall down on somebody's yard, tough luck.
Yeah.
I wonder if part of that is just because of the fact that Sarah Peelman is basically got two jobs, right? She's both the city arborist and she's the sustainability coordinator. And those are both big jobs.
Well, I'm also positive that its funding has something to do with it too.
Yeah.
There's only so much money to cut dead trees down, and we have more dead trees than we have money probably.
Yeah.
If you've ever listened to her voicemail, you'll know she's kind of overextended.
Okay.
So-
So it sounds like we have.
If I could, within a couple of us mentioned native plants and education, and you were talking about, you said maybe you were or weren't talking about incentives for solar, but I would like to see ways that we can incentivize people for doing native, at least modifying landscaping practices to reduce greenhouse gases, to reduce chemical use, air quality, noise, and biodiversity. I know the Master Watershed Stewards Program is working on trying to do a little education with the landscape end of it, the businesses, to try and get them to understand that there is a growing market, but just ways to incentivize it and to make things available to people, plant materials available.
Well, without trying, I already have 8 issues from our list that I think we should look at, and I'm not sure we can even do that. I mean, but I think that's what we need to do. We need to start saying, okay, which one of these are we going to deal with, and what's the most important?
Yeah. So how do we want
So
to?
do we want to do any grouping or?
I'm going to interject real quick. Did you have anything to add? I know you were.
No, like
Okay.
Bob, I felt like they
That's right. I forgot you were in.
We've got quite a. Oh, it's all right. I felt like we already have quite a bit. I mean, everybody already knows my number one thing. So,
action plan. Fred, to answer your question.
no, my number one thing is reduction of single-use plastics. So, waste reduction and source
I think
reduction.
Source reduction
Part of that
takes in a whole
But-
bunch of these. It takes in single-use plastics. It takes in sort of litter mitigation. I mean, you could make an argument for it. It takes care of recycling glass.
The way and
It takes care of food composting.
and the water distribution system for events.
Can you guys
Well, I think that one has to kind of stay separate. That's a little.
well, I mean, it's under that same heading,
about
but in
single-use
terms of So the question I think Fred has put to us a couple of times is, do we want to group these first and then from that grouping then decide on our priorities? Is that what you're?
Well, if we group them, are we going to have a more manageable group list of priorities to choose from?
I'm not sure how you could.
All right. What's our goal in this process? To end up with 2 or 3 things that, as a group, we want to. Or what is our goal?
To prioritize our priorities.
That we're going to work on as the ENC.
Okay.
What are the top issues that we want to go to the city departments? Now others might come, but what are as we're starting this process, what are the top issues?
Like, I wouldn't mind working on 10 things, but I don't think that's realistic.
It's not realistic.
Right.
It's not realistic.
So that's why I asked what our goal is.
Yeah.
I would say 3 or 4.
Okay.
Wouldn't you? Even if that many?
I think we start with, honestly, 1.
And if we were to pick one out of all of these, I would say climate action plan.
Climate action plan.
That's reasonable.
And then as, perhaps as people get to know that we're in existence, groups might come to us and say, what can you do in terms of this? Is there any impetus you can do with this board or with the mayor's office to advise them that they should be looking at this particular issue?
So I'm with you. And at the same time, it's like, but I want to also work on this. So how do we deal with that? Because I'm sure we all feel that
Wait
way.
in another committee?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, make subcommittees.
Do you want to say?
We don't lose.
Oh, I said just make subcommittees.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Exactly. You're just looking up.
You
Okay.
just happened. Look, I'm sorry.
Okay. So I'm just acknowledging that.
There's always in
Right.
any scenario, there's always more things that you need to do. So you don't lose the list. You say, okay, this is our top priority and this is what we focus on first.
And we can endorse other things as other groups are working on them.
I don't know that an endorsement. I don't know. I feel like we're here to advise the city council, right?
Or the mayor's office or some
mayor's office. Yeah.
It seems to me that not only if you look at something like climate action, something that is encompassing, but also something that's obtainable, rather than start with something that's like 20 years down the road or something like that. If we're going to have successes and prove ourselves to be a valuable tool for the city, I think we need to focus on things that are doable and realistic.
Yeah, I agree. I should be ready. Shoot. I'm really bad at note taking. Sorry.
Well, there's the version of minutes that are not highly detailed. Okay, so what is having that as our priority? What does that mean? Would that mean going forward?
Oh, did we take? Okay, so I know that Pat and I both voted.
Before we vote on that, let's discuss it and say what would it mean if that was our priority? How would that affect how we function?
Well, I think that means that every time. This is again my opinion, so please feel free to disagree or offer your insights. That every month when we're together, we're saying, okay, what needs to be done? We're assigning work, and then the next individually, and then the next month we come together and we bring that together. Or hopefully a week beforehand, we share information so that when we're here, we can be most effective.
It would also mean that we become much more familiar with what the city has already done and, where they're going and how we might influence that. Probably means we look at other climate action plans from other cities. We look at Pennsylvania's climate action plan.
So have we determined Mike can or can't talk?
He can talk.
He can talk. Did you want?
He chatted, but I don't think he unmuted and spoke. But are you hearing us, Mike? Okay.
I think so.
You can. Look at that. He's just been very quiet.
I know a lot of things running through my brain, and maybe we should
find a strategy how we could make the best use of a 1 hour meeting once a month that maybe have a big item for each month that is like on action type of it, where we have, what is our church, all, I mean, things as if we need this such a big thing, and then it'd be me, a little bit, something that really wicked, maybe not so torturous, the climate action that until we get it done, it goes secondary not
I like that.
links that helps their illness be able to help trees get planted, people's backyard, with lots of trees. Something that look like that.
Do you think that's little? I feel like setting an ordinance is not little, but
It's littler than a climate action plan, though.
okay, fair enough.
There's requirements like you, fossil.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Oh,
It's easy to write it.
It's a thought, that it'd be nice to have a concept that, okay, we get 1 hour, they can meet, get stuff done. It'd be nice to show some of a real product, within the first year, something they've done that benefited lower income people. So, this thing, listen, teachers.
I agree, but within the first year. But do you think, you don't think it would be possible for us to basically take the data that the city has, right? Like we have a greenhouse gas audit, the city, and then move that to development of a full plan by the end of the year. If each one of us is like given homework every month and we're kind of constantly moving that ball forward, what does that mean?
I think we need to do it you're a data person, so that sounds really attractive to you. Some of us are less oriented in that way.
At this point we have the data, so it's not about the data. It's more about kind of coming up with solutions, prioritizing those solutions, reaching out to the community, finding incentives and programs that help too. So I don't think it's really.
We don't have to generate today.
We don't have to generate the data. We're not really analyzing the data.
Okay, so what do we...
And for 1 second, I'm going back to a buzzing to be shaped by producer. Yeah. I'm trying to remember that I should have prepared a little bit better to with this, but I'm trying to remember the steps that the EACs should be taking, right, as they're building themselves. When it was the bio check, we did that, right? The next was, I believe, them setting goals and priorities.
yep.
When you say climate action plan, to me, that's so broad. And we're in the process of gathering information with the P4P process. Like we're on our way. So part of it is I see where Mike is headed and I see where Sam is headed, and that you're setting some priority, whether that's, you want to establish a set of goals at the city level, that you want to make sure that you're involved in the land development process. Let's say, we don't install the process, and that's
It's Aldo.
right. You want to establish some area where the EAC would use some. I'm just throwing this out there. To me, that's where the advisory piece comes in with the city and the board. And I think we were headed, I know that I showed a lot of information today, and I think where we were headed is to try to focus a little bit more. And by saying climate action plan seems so broad, and we haven't established the priorities even for the climate action plan. You don't really know that those are in.
Well, see, that's where the advisory council could say, we would like you to consider this, and and this as part of your action plan.
Right, right. And you would be very involved in that process anyway, this board. I'm trying to go back to what We Conserve theory, We Conserve PA mentioned as sort of this, I mean, maybe to look at some of the other EACs that, like the one in Nino, I know Jenny has mentioned, Jenny Tompkins mentioned, or what it was built, what you together the priorities. It must be one of them was the
There's Jenny. Did she want to say something, or she's just there?
Yeah, did you want to say something, Jenny? Jenny, is that why you hopped onto the Zoom? Or are you just here?
Can she hear us?
Jenny, unmute.
Oh, there she is.
Like I was double booked.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
She was double booked.
I was double booked. Now I find it a bit have a lot. So thanks to like
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
delay. There's a lag between my feed and Jordan's feed. So like share the link with me. I appreciate it there. So now started.
But you just got on.
Yes. Okay. So we're discussing what
Our department.
what are it's it's almost 4:15. We're overtime.
You have to make sure that both.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we didn't get to the transportation improvement plan.
Well, let me just quickly mention, because there is I could, maybe you could share the public notice that I shared with you with people by email. Right. But there's a public review and comment period on the tip May 15th through June 13th. And there are going to be, there's a couple the first will be a virtual meeting from noon to 1 p.m.
Is this the transportation improvement program?
That's right. But
Okay.
when we're talking about verges and stuff like that, those are all things that could go in there. Just like this is for those of us who are strongly interested in these things about sidewalks and roads and stuff. It is important to look at this plan. I'm having trouble communicating with Emily Alios. I think she might even be on leave right now.
She's usually
Okay, so if you can help me find who's
Auntie.
if you could email me her contact info. So I need to be able to access the information by May 8th.
Okay. So the only thing is
June
for the transportation improvement.
I'm just
program
letting
is
people
just
know that it's there.
that it's there.
There are public meetings. There's a public comment period. Some of us have a strong interest in that.
Okay.
All right. So what's going to happen in May?
I will lead the meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But I'm just curious if there's anything I need to let you know that to cover things on.
I mean, if there's something that you want me to pass on or speak about during the meeting, let me know. I
Yeah.
probably won't be able to elaborate as much as you, but
Right.
I'll at least pass it
I'm
along.
going to be, after May 4th, I'll be off the grid until June 8th. So you won't hear from me at all.
Okay. So motion to, does anybody want to make a motion to
Before we do that, can we just say that next month we're going to take another look at priorities? And could you put on the agenda that I would like to bring a recommendation regarding a process involving HECA to the advisory committee? Okay?
So you want HECA to be a point of new business.
It'll be just
So we have an unexplained absence. Should we just ask him to check in with him? Do you want me to do it or you do it?
You would like
Okay, I'll do it. Okay.
Get your, okay. Any other final notes for the, anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I shall make a motion to adjourn.
And I will second.
Let me ask a question. Are we going to always end before 4:30? Just because I put money in the meter, so I just want to know what's the actual time of.
Meet and I'll let the task play later than the work produce.
Okay, that answers my question.
Right. But so 4:15 was getting us out by 4:30. Is that what?
Well, he asked me if it's the law.
Right.
Yes. Okay, so I can just do my hour and 40 minutes instead of my 2 hours. I'll save 25 cents.
Here we go.
All right.
Just got to know.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?